Dr. Abhishek Ranjan, please, with your next talk. The surgical strike in chemical injury.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm sharing the screen. Is it the screen is visible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. So, a very good afternoon. So, I have no financial interest in any of the products shown in this talk. So, chemical injury constitutes 20 to 30% of all ocular injuries. It happens when a corrosive substance is accidentally introduced to the eye or periocular tissue. It is true ophthalmic emergency that require immediate and intensive intervention to minimize severe complications and profound visual loss. It is most.
Yeah, Dr. Abhishek.
Yes, sir.
I'm back with continue with your presentation. I was off.
It is most prevalent among young males aged between 20 to 40 years, but children are also at risk. So there are various substances which are used on day-to-day basis which may cause these injuries. In home settings like cleaning solutions, drain cleaners, oven cleaners, bleach and battery explosion, and in an industrial setting like lime and various acids are the offending agents. In acute clinical settings, we can find periorbital edema and erythema, deepithelialized skin, loss of eyelashes and eyebrows, corneal and conjunctival epithelial defects, chemosis, conjunctival inflammation, limbal ischemia, corneal cloudiness, edema, and occasionally corneal or scleral perforation. Others findings may be cataract, high intraocular pressure, or secondary damage to retina or optic nerve. One of the most important prognostic factors for visual outcome is the extent of ocular surface damage, initially reflected by the amount of limbal ischemia. And according to that, there are two classifications are there. The older one are Roper Hall classification, which is divided into 4 grades according to the corneal injuries and limbal ischemia. While Dr. Dua has classified chemical injury into 6 grades according to the limbal involvement in clock hours and percentage of conjunctival involvement. Hence, the common element in all these classifications scheme is the amount of limbal involvement at the time of injury, and relative proportion of surviving limbal tissue is a major prognostic factor. So the course of the disease is divided into 4 physiological phases. So in immediate phase, first we have to irrigate thoroughly the ocular surface to remove any offending agent. For this, use of at least 2 liters of irrigating solution. Then recheck pH, which should be around 7, and there is correlation between time to irrigation and outcome. Hence, it is important to check and sweep the furnaces to remove any particulate matter also. So there are various solutions can be used in immediate phase, like tap water is also good. Others are like buffered solutions, normal saline, ringer lactate, or amphoteric solutions. In acute phase, the main objective during are to decrease the inflammation, avoid further epithelial and stromal breakdown, and foster reepithelialization. So anti-inflammatory therapy like topical corticosteroids are critical in controlling acute inflammation and reducing the resulting inflammatory damage to the ocular surface after a chemical injury. To inhibit the surge of neutrophilic infiltration, it should be started immediately after chemical injury. Intense regimen of any potent steroid on hourly basis for grade 2 or higher chemical injuries should be done. It should be tapered down by 2 weeks in the setting of non-healing epithelial defect. But if the cornea has epithelialized, topical corticosteroids can be used safely beyond 2 weeks. If necessary, systemic corticosteroids can be considered. Stromal melt or thinning is a major concern in severe chemical injury because there are no viable cells to repair, and inflammatory cells secreting matrix metalloproteinases are there. So to prevent corneal thinning after chemical injuries, we can use collagenase inhibitors like tetracycline or vitamin C, or protein inhibitors like citrate. For promotion of reepithelialization, frequent preservative-free lubricants should be applied along with prophylactic antibiotic. Any toxic medications like gentamicin should be avoided. Bandage contact lens can be applied in acute phase like soft bandage contact lens, and in chronic stage, scleral lenses can be applied. Amniotic membrane transplantation is a permanent surgical graft to provide a basement membrane for epithelialization. It acts as biological bandage contact lens. In ocular burns, it provides pain relief and rapid epithelialization in moderate grade burns. It also helps in the restoration of corneal surface with preservation of good vision and reducing limbal stromal infiltration. It helps in restoring the conjunctival surface by limiting symbiotic formation. Amniotic membrane grafting during the first 7 to 10 days following acute injury maximizes the beneficial effects. There is a technique of application of amniotic membrane. First, we have to remove all the debris and devitalized tissues all around, and then amniotic membrane should be spread over the ocular surface, and it should be fixed with the help of fibrin glue to the ocular surface, including the fornices and up to the lid margin. Autologous serum and platelet-rich plasma are also helps in promotion of reepithelialization because they have higher concentration of growth factors. Tenonplasty are used in severe injuries that cause loss of limbal vascularity and subsequent anterior segment necrosis to re-establish the limbal blood supply and to promote ocular surface repair. It may be combined with amniotic membrane transplantation with or without lumbar corneal patch grafting. It prevents anterior segment necrosis, scleral ischemia, melting, and strial ulceration. So for this technique, first we have to remove all the necrotic and devitalized tissues, including conjunctiva and tenons, until we reach to the vascular tissue. And once we reach the vascular tenon, it should be advanced and fixed with the help of fibrin glue to the ocular surface. In chronic phase, the goal of surgical intervention is to restore normal ocular surface anatomy and visual function. The typical order for surgical intervention are correction of eyelid abnormalities, management of glaucoma, ocular surface reconstruction or transplantation, and then keratoplasty. So ocular surface exposure due to loss of eyelid tissue or contacture or symblepharon are the major contributing factor to control complications, including ulceration and perforation. Hence, eyelid and fornix abnormalities should be corrected before any limbal or corneal surgery is performed. It should be delayed as long as possible in order to avoid surgery on hot eyes. In mild to moderate symblepharon, excision of tenons and preservation of conjunctiva should be done. Fornix reconstruction with amniotic membrane can be done, and antimetabolites such as mitomycin C or 5-fluorouracil should be applied to deep fornices. In severe and extensive symblepharon, in unilateral cases, autologous conjunctival graft from the fellow eyes, or in bilateral or extensive diseases, mucous membrane grafting can be considered. Limbal stem cell deficiency is characterized by corneal conjunctivalization, corneal neovascularization, persistent epithelial defect and ulceration, corneal scarring, severe visual loss, and chronic pain. So its management strategy is based on severity and laterality. In case of partial LSCD, if central cornea is spared, then preservative-free lubricants are used along with autologous serum, eye drops, and topical vitamin A plus and steroids. If the central cornea is involved, then sequential sector conjunctival epithelectomy, amniotic membrane transplantation can be done. If all the above fail, then ipsilateral limbal transplant in the form of claw or slit can be done. In unilateral diseases, claw can be done, or slit or cleft can be done. While in bilateral diseases, all these can be done with the help of living-related allograft. Limbal stem cell transplantation are not recommended during active inflammation. It should be delayed until ocular surface inflammation has subsided or is well controlled with the medications. All eyelid abnormalities should be addressed before considering limbal stem cell transplant. That is the technique of claw. First, we have to release the symblepharon, and then all the fibrotic tissues are removed. Then conjunctival limbal graft is taken from other side, and it should be placed over the bare area. taking the precaution that limbal side should be limbus, and it is fixed with the help of fibrin glue. In SLATE, first we have to remove the pannus from the cornea and all around it. And then we have to put amniotic membrane over that, and this amniotic membrane should be fixed with the help of fibrin glue. And the other limbal tissues that is harvested from the other eye or from the living related donor should be applied over that, and it should be cut over about 8 to 10 pieces, and it should be arranged in peri-limbal area and fixed with fibrin glue, and then bandage contact lens are applied. These are the outcomes of SLATE. In living related conjunctival yellow graft requires performing surgery on two patients, donor and recipient. It supplies goblet cells in transplanted conjunctival carrier tissue. Keratolimbal autograft involves transplantation of limbal stem cell from cadaver donor tissue in the form of corneoscleral tissue lenticule. In limbal stem cell transplantation in allogenic LSCT, it needs comprehensive and full systemic immunosuppression, either steroid, tacrolimus, or mycophenolate mofetil. Corneal transplantation can be considered in extensive stromal scarring after chemical injuries. Keratoprosthesis is the surgical placement of artificial cornea, and Boston type 1 keratoprosthesis is the most widely used device for restoring vision in patients who have failed previous corneal procedure. Boston type 2 K-Pro or osteodontal prosthesis are usually reserved for patients with bilateral corneal blindness in the setting of severe dryness and keratinization and severe chemical or physical injury with loss of lids. In patients with residual tear film, other surgical interventions should be considered prior to Boston type 2 K-Pro or OOKP implantation. So these are the algorithm or summarized management of in chronic phases. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek, for an extensive and elaborate management of the chemical burns. Chemical injury is one of the important aspect of acute emergencies in ophthalmology. So very frequently clinicians do encounter some kind of things spilling into the eye, and the immediate that has got long-term immediate effects as well as the long-term catastrophic effects. So thank you so much for your nice and elaborate presentation.